Welcome to Soapbox Heroes. My name is Tyrone Irvin. It is my pleasure to be able to bring to you today my friend, my brother, Deric Muhammad. He's an activist, and I like to say the part that he's not just acting, he is literally taking action.
Man, thank you for having me, my brother. It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you.
Kamala Harris is a highly intelligent black woman. Mm-hmm. Some are saying that she's not black. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. Ask her how many times she's been called nigger.
Right.
Okay?
Especially running for certain offices.
Yeah. Even if she didn't know she was black, she's black enough.
You still a nigger.
Yes. Trust me, she's been reminded several times. And she has a record that is not so... it doesn't sit well with the black community.
Not at all.
And what those who support her have to understand is that those who feel that she has betrayed our community in the past have the right to say so.
Right.
And for those who are expressing their disgust with her past record and her past policies, you have to say something, but you can do so in a way that it is respectful. Now,
Absolutely.
I don't think that Kamala Harris is the solution to our problem.
No.
The problem of black people is not a political problem. It's a spiritual problem. It is a cultural problem. And it is an economic problem.
It seems that it's so hard to wean people off of the system that we have now. Do you think that that politics is so important to black people because being excluded from it in so many type of ways, almost like something that you can't have. Now that you can have a resemblance of it, you just want it so much because you've been excluded from it. Do you think that has something to do with it?
This goes back to your first question. What do I think about the division? We have to remember that politics in and of itself is designed to be divisive.
You have to have a conflict.
Party politics is designed to be divisive. That's the way that it has been constructed and crafted. And so when we get to arguing over politics, see, it's different from when white people argue over politics.
They don't put each other out of homes over it.
Well, it's not even just that. You know, the Republicans, they have their little era where they're in power.
Yes.
And white Republicans benefit.
Very much so.
Okay. Democrats, they have their little era.
Yes.
Whether it's 8 years, 10 years, or whatever,
yeah,
where they're in power. Yeah. The Democrats control the House. They control the Senate. We have a Democrat. Like, and during those moments, it is white Democrats that benefit.
Overwhelmingly.
Yes. But you can go back 30 years, brother. Republican to Democratic president, no matter what the administration looks like, the hood still looks the same.
Yes.
And so my question to black people is this. 12 years ago, we were sold what was called change that we could believe in.
Hope and change.
Yes. And as a people, we organized politically like never before to get behind what I believe was the baddest man to ever enter American politics ever. Whether you love or hate Barack Obama,
yes,
he's a bad black man, and he knew how to come in and beat them at their own game.
Yep.
It's difficult for the Democratic Party to find a so-called good candidate right now. Because Obama raised the standard so high.
Yeah.
And so we elected the first black president of the United States of America. I was so happy for my 91-year-old grandmother that she lived to see the day.
Yes.
And all of those who marched in the civil rights movement were happy because they lived to see the day that a black man could live in the White House.
Yes.
But guess what?
What?
The house was still white. And so my question to black people, if 8 years of a black president did not change your condition, how in the hell do you think that 4 or 8 years of a black vice president is going to change your condition?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is we're focusing our energy in the wrong direction.
Yes.
Kamala Harris, even if she wanted to change the condition of black people, she would not have the power to do so.
The structure around her is designed to do the opposite.
And let's just be let's just be honest. When you look at her history, she is a candidate that was made by the machine. She wasn't made by the community.
No. She's completely an establishment candidate.
100%.
When I look at Kamala Harris, and this is the thing, it's to the point to where now if you're honest about one person, it's almost like you're saying the other person is great. I'm one of those people I could say, no, they could both be bad. These things can happen. This isn't a linear thought. And so with Kamala Harris is a conservative at heart. If you look at her policies, if you listen to her rhetoric, if you listen to the things that she did to stay in place in California and advance in California, she sounded just like the people she argues with on the other side of the aisle. People, when you talk about the things that she has done as far as criminal justice and criminality and over prosecuting black people, minorities,
Right.
for her advantage,
The numbers don't lie.
they don't lie. Her words don't lie. Why do people get so angry, Deric, when you say things that are factual about somebody they may like? What's the anger?
Well, right now, the climate is so ginned up with the whole thought of getting rid of Donald Trump that we don't realize that this is how they sell us on the notion to lower our standards.
There are none at this point.
Anything or anybody to get rid of Donald Trump. Listen, I'm all for removing Donald Trump
Absolutely.
from office.
Absolutely.
I'm all for it. But the sad part about it is that we believe that as a people, our future hinges on whether Donald Trump becomes president or not.
Right.
And I'm saying to myself, this is mind blowing.
Yeah.
Do we realize what we're saying? What we're saying is that this white man
Yes.
has power and control over our future.
Yes.
That's something that our ancestors had to deal with 300 years ago.
Yeah.
No white man has power and control over your future.
Yes.
So if Donald Trump is removed, fine. If he's not, fine.
Fine.
Black people still have to craft an agenda that is for us, by us, that our children and grandchildren can benefit from. And so the scary part is this. With a guy like Trump in office, a white nationalist who is brazen and overt with his racism.
Extra overt.
And I like my racism overt.
Me too.
I prefer my white supremacists to be
overt. Yeah.
Let me know who you are.
I don't want no covert racist.
Exactly.
Because I might drop my kids off and you could be their teacher.
Thank you, brother. And so if you remove him, if you put a covert racist in there, who has a D beside his name versus an R.
Yes.
What that does, unfortunately, is it causes the black community to hit the snooze button.
Absolutely.
And we go right back to sleep.
Right. With the same policies and things
perpetuated. But we wake up 8 years later, and our community still looks the same. So what I'm saying is we don't have time to be arguing over a candidate who's pushing somebody else's agenda.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Deric, I say this. When it comes to the candidates, put it all on the table about all of the candidates. Donald Trump, Mike Pence, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. And people will say, well, if you say the truth or if you keep talking about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, you're going to make people vote for Donald Trump. And I say, well, if their record is that bad, I'm not the problem. If the truth makes you vote for somebody else, why would you be mad at the person telling the truth instead of the person who executed the things that you're telling the truth about?
Brother, you hit the hammer right on the head of the nail. People would rather compromise truth for political outcome than speak the truth and let the chips fall where they may. What you don't understand is if you compromise the truth and these people are elected based on a lie, then all you do is you're just going to further frustrate our young people, and they ain't gonna want to be a part of the political process ever again. And that's where we are. We are in a time where truth must preponderate over falsehood.
Absolutely.
And if we don't love truth, if you love a candidate more than you love the truth,
something's wrong.
Then there's something morally wrong with you.
Something's wrong.
And we got to get out of that sheep mentality, my brother.
Yeah, Deric, with slavery, I don't like just stopping at slavery because I feel our history is a lot deeper than slavery.
Much deeper.
Much deeper. But for this point in particular, I have to say this. I'm getting a Amber Alert, so we're gonna un-amber that.
Somebody trying to kidnap the truth.
Somebody trying to kidnap the truth.
Yes.
You know, but we truth traffickers.
That's right, my brother. That's right.
We're truth traffickers. In slavery, during slavery, what I noticed is when we go back in history, white people would only tell us what they wanted us to know. They would never tell us the full truth. When we go back before slavery, when we come to history, the history of us, any history involving black people, it's always been slanted and given to us in a way that is more beneficial for somebody else. That's what I feel like is happening when people don't want you to tell the truth about all the candidates. If you only want me to know part of the information, how do you want me to make a fully formed decision?
Right. And that's one of the reasons that people are more focused on voter registration than they are on voter education.
And information, absolutely.
Because if you educate me as a voter, then you empower me to make a choice that's best for myself and my community. If you educate me. And they don't want us to be educated to the degree that we look underneath the little pretty rug. You know how you have one of those little pretty Persian rugs? And you come and you sit and you watch television about a pretty Persian rug, but you keep smelling something. Man, something smells around here.
Right.
The pretty rug, then you lift up the rug and you find the dog doo-doo.
Under the rug.
Under the rug. Listen, it doesn't matter how long you bury the dog doo-doo under the rug. At some point, it's going to start stinking.
Stink.
So you can try and hide the history of Kamala Harris, and I'm talking about the history of her policies.
Yes.
Those things that she actually got behind and pushed that hurt black families in California.
Badly.
That are still suffering.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you can try to sweep that under the rug all you want. At some point, it's going to manifest itself.
Yes.
And those of us who caped for her will be left holding the bag.
Right.
You'll be held responsible.
Right.
Because you decided to hide the truth.
Right.
Instead of speaking truth.
Right.
And allowing people to make an informed decision.
Right. And you also leave people confused when things come out later. Exactly. Instead of informing them first.
Exactly.
And so my thing is, why would you want your people to be surprised? So later on, if she's making decisions that mirror decisions she made in the past, and we had all opportunity to warn you about things she did in the past, why would you want people to live in that confusion?
Yes. See, I don't have anything personal against Kamala Harris. I don't even know her.
Right.
Okay. And, women, especially black women, have suffered so much.
Yes.
Over the past 465 years, just in this country alone.
Right.
Women have suffered globally. And so I don't begrudge any sister
No.
for being proud to see
Right.
a black woman be nominated, and there's a possibility that she could become the number 2, not most powerful, because the president doesn't run the country.
Not at all.
And if the president doesn't run the country, neither does the vice president.
He doesn't write laws.
And what people have to understand, that in the choosing of a vice president, and y'all can get mad at me if you want to, there's a thing in politics called impeachment insurance.
Yes.
That means that a presidential candidate chooses a vice presidential candidate that deep in his heart he knows that even if he is facing impeachment,
Yes,
it may save him just at the thought of the American people thinking that that VP would take over.
Yes.
And so people always wonder, why do they choose like a weak nobody to be vice president? I'm talking about in the past. I'm not talking about Kamala Harris.
Right.
It is because that's the play.
Right.
You don't choose somebody that they would want to see take your place.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So I have nothing against her, and I have nothing against AKAs and others being proud to see her rise.
I understand I understand being happy. I understand being proud. When people were saying we need a black woman vice president, I'm all behind it. My only caveat was we need a black woman vice president who cares about black people. I feel as if that caveat was left out, and that was dangerous.
We've already had a black president.
Yeah.
We've already had a black president.
Right.
In other words, we've gone down this
road
road before. And so to say that you can want a black woman vice president.
Yes.
But my problem is us saying that we need. No, that ain't what we need.
Yeah.
What we need is unity.
Yeah, very true.
What we need is to take the $2 trillion in spending power that we have and redirect that inward.
Yes.
What we need are our own hospitals and clinics so that we can give one another the best care. Because the easiest place to hide racism is in a hospital.
Absolutely.
What we need is conflict resolution centers in our community where we can come together to solve our own problems instead of taking our problems to a criminal justice system that was not meant to give us justice.
Right.
Like when we start listing the list of needs for black people in America, presidents should be nowhere in the top 10. Vice president, that should be nowhere on our list.
That's
of
not
needs.
even on the map.
You see, so somebody who is a politician should be forced by black people and the black vote and black political momentum to get behind the agenda that we already have, that we're already executing for ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
But as long as we sit back and we wait for anyone in government to do for us what we can do for ourselves, we will forever remain disappointed.
We'll always hinder progress.
And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it then, but it is more relevant now. It is our time, brother. We must do for self. And thinking that having a black vice president, thinking that that's the key to our salvation and liberation, it's just simple foolishness.
Yeah, it's not going to add up. It's not going to add up. And this is my thing, and I'm going to move on from the Kamala Harris part. Is I would never talk about her as a person. I don't know this woman, and I'm not the type of person to talk about people rather than actions. But I do know for a fact in 2014, we were organizing because she was turning her head and letting police officers get away with things. Alan Bluford. People saw that movie Fruitville Station.
Yes.
Well, that guy, at that time she was the attorney general, and we were putting pressure on her to make the prosecutor do the right thing. She didn't. And these things happen over and over and over and over again.
And you can't ignore that history.
You can't ignore that history. I've done so many protests that were involving her name, literally doing the wrong thing. These kids and even some of us adults are protesting this stuff right now. So she is.
And now that it's politically expedient, she wants to join the protest.
Right. And so my question is, how do I just erase all these memories of truth that I have and now act like it don't exist? Deric, I talk about prosecutors and district attorneys all the time and the dangers they have because they have too much power if unchecked. And now people want me, and like I said, this is therapy, Deric.
Yeah.
People want me to not say anything about what this woman has done. I've seen the effects of her. She's affected my life personally. Now people want me to just be quiet because she's the black woman who's elected to be the vice president.
Right.
And I'm like, well, she can't do anything anyway. So what do, Deric? Do I reverse course or do I just be quiet? Because I talk about Donald Trump too. I say what the truth is for who the people are. Do I just acquiesce to popular society right now and just stop telling the truth?
You know, it reminds me of a letter that Comandante Fidel Castro wrote from jail. He was a young revolutionary, and he saw a brighter future for his country that did not include the capitalist invasion of the United States of America. And at the end of his letter, he wrote these words: "History will absolve me."
Yes.
And so when we speak truth as we know it, we never back down from truth. Because even though people may throw stones at us for speaking truth, we know that in the end, history will be kind to us. History will absolve us. So there comes a time, my brother, where you have to swing the axe of truth at the tree of circumstance and let the chips fall where they may. See, it is not our responsibility to control how people respond to the truth. We have no power over that.
Absolutely.
It's like when a farmer goes and he places a seed in the ground. He places it in fertile soil. He waters it. He makes sure that it gets the right amount of sunlight. But the actual growth, he's not in charge of that. A greater power is in charge of that. And that is how we have to be when we speak the seed of truth.
Absolutely.
We have to be confident that the greater power who gave us that truth, he'll handle that.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to tell you like I tell them youngsters. Listen, once I speak to you what I know is the truth, you ain't got to like it. You don't even have to follow it. But I guarantee you, if I told you the truth, you're going to run into it again.
You know it.
You going to run into it again. And when you run into it again, in your mind, you'll go, man, that bald head brother tried to tell me this.
Baby, I should take heed.
So we just speak the truth, brother. That's all we can do.
Absolutely. Look, talking about the truth and running into it again. There's something that we run into again, and I can't say that this is something that's just now becoming prevalent, but it's something that's just kind of just been a steady growth, and now it's to a boiling point that's almost boiled over. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, okay, we could go back last year. They wanted to ban him from certain platforms because they say he speaks hate speech.
Right.
I listened to the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, and I don't catch this hate speech that they're talking about. Now, it's to the point to where hate can be up to interpretation instead of an actual dictionary meaning. This is what hate is. Hate is almost like, well, I don't like what he said, so he hates me. There was an interview with a guy named DJ Vlad and DL Hughley. In fact, K-Tron, let's pull it up. I want to play it, and I want to get your opinion on it because I think that I just want to get your opinion on it. We'll go after it. We're gonna go ahead and play it,
Absolutely,
and
sure.
and see what's going on because we just gotta see it.
This kind of whole. I personally feel this is coming off the heels of Farrakhan's 4th of July speech.
Sure.
Where he said, those of you that say you're Jews, I will not give you the honor of calling you a Jew. You're not a Jew. You're so-called. You're Satan. And it's my job now to pull the cover off of Satan. And he went on to say, like, every Muslim, when they see a fake Jew, grab a rock. And this is kind of what I feel is the energy. And a lot of people look up to Farrakhan. I've interviewed NOI members multiple times.
Right.
I've used FOI for security. Overall, I think the NOI is a group that helped out a lot of people.
Right.
Hearing statements like that bothers me. Jailtronica chimed in with the whole thing. He called the rabbi a coward and so forth. And Michael Rappaport actually responded. He says the man with the penchant for devil white girls. He said, you love white girls like a rapper who can't finish his own album loves Jay-Z.
What I find, I believe anybody who uses their belief to then tell somebody that their belief is wrong. The whole thing about this idea of serving a higher being is that it's supposed to lift you up, I would imagine. Like, I believe in God. I just don't believe that everybody who says they work for him really do. And I've yet to find fervently religious people on the whole, in the aggregate, who purposely try to make the world better. Like the people who have the loudest megaphones, the people who have the most exposure, the people who are the most visible, seem to have a vested interest in telling somebody they're wrong and I'm right. And I don't understand it. It was one of the reasons I stopped kind of being involved in religion, because I saw what it did and how it makes people act. If you love God, then you have to love people. And if you and you have to love them regardless of who they are, where they're from. It's almost like when I point things out, people are like, oh, you're racist, which is impossible for me. I don't have a system that's going to hold people back. But I think that we're so connected in this country to a system that's unfair, that pointing out what's unfair seems like racism to people, or pointing out there are things that are truthful, there are things that are not. But when that truth, or when you connect your idea of the truth to telling somebody how they're bad and you're good and he loves you and this being loves you more,
right,
I think you've already lost.
Right, because part of the thing that Nick said was that white people, because they lack melanin, with melanin comes compassion, and therefore they're not as human. They're more animalistic. And for example, when you look at NOI teachings, they believe that there was a guy named Yaqub, who had 59,999 followers, and he took them all to an island, and he started to breed out the black traits, right, and he would kill the dark-skinned babies.
Right. And
he created white people, right, on this island.
I've had people.
He lived to the age of 152.
Right.
So he had a lot of interesting, things about him. And you could believe this, or you could look at Bill Nye, who explains how people that live, near the equator have a certain amount of vitamin D. And, based on where you live in accordance to the equator, the vitamin D levels change. That's why you have lighter skin versus darker, right, skin based on where you are in the, right, equator. At the end of the day, if you're deeply religious, you're probably going to believe the Yaqub story.
I don't know anybody who's deeply religious. I don't know anybody who's deeply religious to believe that. I know that I've heard that I said,
you've heard the Yaqub thing.
Yeah,
a
dozen
times. Yeah.
Dozens of times.
Are they misquoting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan?
I would say no. DJ Vlad is not misquoting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I would say that he is lying
Lying.
on the Honorable Minister Louis
Okay.
Farrakhan. First of all, anytime anyone quotes another man and petitions you to comment on that quote, before you open your mouth, you must go and listen to the man for yourself.
Like we just listened to their quote.
Now, if we were to go back and play the clip of what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan actually said on July 4th, I actually listened several times.
Yes.
What he said was, there are Jews who claim to be Jews. He said, I won't give you the honor of calling you a Jew. You are a so-called Jew. And when he spoke of being a Jew, that term Jew is relative. See, some people see Jewish as a culture. Some see it as a nationality.
Yeah.
Some see it as a religion. He was speaking of the biblical description of the term Jew, where it says that a Jew is not one who is circumcised by the male member, but one who has circumcised within the heart. It's called the circumcision of the heart. He's basically saying to certain individuals, and he called their names. You claim to be a Jew, but your heart is not circumcised. Look at your actions. And so he went on to say that you are not a Jew. He was talking to certain individuals whose names that he called. He didn't even speak. He wasn't speaking of the entire community.
Statement.
No, and he was very, very. One thing about Minister Farrakhan is that he has the divine gift of taking complex truths and breaking them down to where even a fool can understand.
Okay.
And so what he said is that you, talking to these individuals, are not a Jew. He said, you are a Satan. And then he said that it is the job of every Satan, every Muslim. It is the job of every Muslim that when you see Satan, and he's speaking of a ritual that Muslims go through when we go on the Hajj to Mecca, where you take a stone and you cast the stone. It is symbolic of casting a stone at Satan. He never said Muslims should throw rocks at Jews every time they see a Jew. And then he went further to clarify the statement. Go back and listen to it. He said, you don't have to throw a physical rock. The only rock that you have to throw is the stone of truth. And so while Minister Farrakhan was speaking metaphorically, DJ Vlad made it his business to try to make it appear as if though the minister was calling for violence against Jewish people. I don't think that he misquoted the minister. I think he lied on the minister. I think this was calculated. And I believe that this is a classic case of divide and conquer. And I hope and pray that our brother D.L. Hughley does not fall for the bait.
Yeah, well, I noticed DL went on to say he doesn't like it when people use their religion to tell somebody else that they're wrong. And I'm paraphrasing, so the quote might not be exactly the same, but you can rewind it and listen to it.
Well, if you go back and you read the revised version of the Bible, where it says, slave, obey your master. If we're talking about people who use their religion to try to paint the picture that another people are wrong, then he should be talking to white Christians first. He should be talking to those who are in power in white society first. Do you know how long it is taking for us to get black people to love one another, to love themselves? Why? Because they use religion to teach us to hate ourselves. So I don't disagree with what DL said, but I hope and pray that he was referring to some of these white and evangelicals. I'm hoping that he's and praying that he's referring to those who, the Pope even, who put their stamp on the King James version of the Bible that painted the picture of the Hamitic curse, and made black people to believe that we were a cursed people. Don't talk to me about nobody using religion to try to make other people hate themselves.
Right.
They've been doing it for 465 damn years.
Right. And DJ Vlad he's talking about lies while he's lying. We're talking about throwing stones, and to me, DJ Vlad is throwing boulders. Yes. And it feels as if he's doing it intentionally. Why are they so afraid of Louis Farrakhan?
The reason that they are so afraid of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is because the truth that comes out of his mouth, the day that our people and all people decide to see the truth that comes out of his mouth for what it is, their world is on its way out. Mm-hmm. See, if the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is telling black people, put down the cigarette, don't put those toxins into your body.
Yeah.
He has so much influence that if people really listen to him, the cigarette industry is over.
Yeah.
See, if the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is telling black women that you are the second self of God, you don't have to take off your clothes to show how powerful and beautiful you are. All you have to do is put something in your head, and I guarantee you that what is in your mind is more powerful and attractive than your behind.
Yeah.
See, then these music industry executives, they can't make money off of the WAP song anymore. If we start seeing what comes out of Louis Farrakhan's mouth for what it is, the truth. See, if the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is telling the truth when he says that the merchants in our community that sell us death every day and don't give a damn dollar back to the community. See, when he calls for them to be run out of the community and for us to build our own for our own, you ain't got nobody to take advantage of no more. You don't have anybody to exploit anymore.
Yes.
See, Minister Farrakhan has been given the divine ability to reprogram the slave mind. And what makes him so dangerous to them is that if he reprograms the slave mind, they have no one else to exploit.
Yeah.
That's why he's so dangerous to them.
I found it very ironic that we have Vlad talking to a black man, D.L. Hughley, and they're talking about another black man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And then they go on to bring in another white man in Michael Rappaport.
Yes.
To continue to try to tell us how we should feel about another black man. We have two white men trying to tell the black community what to think about this other black man. Look at that dynamic there.
And he in his own way, I'm talking about DJ Vlad, he discredits what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, but he had to lie about it. In order to discredit it.
To accomplish it.
So he discredits what the minister said. Then he goes and he discredits what Nick Cannon said.
Yeah.
Then he discredits what Jay Electronica says.
Yes.
So he's discrediting all the black people, you know. Now he gives creditation to what the other white guy says, Michael Rappaport.
Exactly.
And what's subconscious within the framework of the entire conversation is, DL, you better not say the wrong thing.
You better not.
See, it's a slave master relationship.
Right.
I don't care how you slice it and dice it.
Right.
And the reason that they hate the minister is because for 30 years they have tried to put him in that hot seat. And he has never bent.
Yeah.
He has never bowed.
Yeah.
He has never backpedaled. He has never bowed down or cowed down. He stood up like a man.
Yeah.
And what they did not get the chance to do with him, and they never will. See, back on the plantation, what they would do, if there was a strong black African that had been enslaved, and he decided that he wanted to stand up against the plantation owner. He decided that he wanted to organize slaves and cause a rebellion or a revolt. What they did is they made a public show of his punishment to show all of the other young black slaves that this is what happens to you if you stand up against the powers that be.
Yeah.
Right. And so because they have not been able to do that with the minister, they try to make him weaker and he only gets stronger.
Yeah.
They try to tell lies about him in order to diminish his support. Then in 1995, he does what no man has ever done in history. He goes before the world and says, I want 1 million black men to come to Washington, D.C., and 2 million show up. You don't see that God is with this man?
Yeah.
Don't you see it? And so when you look at what they've done or tried to do to our brother Nick Cannon,
Yeah.
Nick Cannon spoke his mind. And they say, well, he quoted some erroneous facts about Jewish history on his podcast. That might be so. I mean, people make mistakes in their research.
Yes.
But I don't think Nick Cannon had an obligation to apologize to anybody.
I don't
If
either.
you made a mistake in your research, there's nothing wrong with you saying, I stand corrected.
Right.
And then you go back and then you correct
Yes.
what it is that you made a misstep.
That's
in.
responsibility.
Yeah, see, when these major publications, which many of them are owned by Jewish people,
Yes.
when they make a mistake in a story that they write, they'll give you a correction the following day, but they're not going to come out and apologize.
No, they're not. And sometimes the correction is veiled in almost so much secrecy, you don't see it. They'll do a retraction in the newspaper. It'll be buried in page 56 in the bottom.
But see, you see, but Nick Cannon's forced apology, it wasn't about Nick.
No.
It wasn't really for those people who made him
offended.
apologize.
Yeah.
What black people don't really understand is that that was for you, Negro. Okay? That was them sending a message to you.
You better not do this.
That if that was for D.L. Hughley.
That was for him.
That was for all of the black actors, actresses, producers, musicians
Right.
in Hollywood, in the music industry. They're making an example of Nick
Right.
Cannon to let you know you are not free
Right.
to speak your mind.
You know what impressed me about the Nick Cannon situation? I don't think people are looking at the time in which we are. We were talking earlier about how black athletes and actors and different people are now empowered to be able to speak. So we have black people all over the world literally saying things that they never thought that they would be able to say or didn't have the confidence to say it. Nick Cannon still got shut down right in the middle of that time. Right. What does that have to tell you about that power?
That is a very, very great observation, my brother. During the time when it's okay to paint Black Lives Matter in yellow letters in front of the White House.
Yeah, half a mile long.
Yes, you can talk about Black Lives Matter.
Yes,
but you cannot speak about those that you believe have a controlling interest over black culture, black talent.
Yes.
Yeah. So you say what you want, but don't come this way.
Yeah.
With what you have to say.
Yes.
And again, that was just the Jewish, and I don't want to say the Jewish community, because when I say the Jewish community, that's all inclusive. What we have to understand that there are Jewish rabbis who see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as a passport.
Yes.
Into the hereafter. This has been said by some Jewish rabbis. Okay, there are those that he has met with and have had dialogue, with. So I don't want to. It's not the entire Jewish community.
It's not a blanket statement.
But like the minister said, it is those who say that they are, but they are really so-called. I mean, think about it. This group does not like for there to be the implication that Jewish people have an inordinate amount of power over black celebrities, black entertainers, black politicians.
Yeah.
They say that's a lie.
Right.
But when Nick Cannon
Right.
decides that he wants to start exploring and
Yes.
addressing certain areas of history,
Yeah.
and really what they really made him apologize for was for being there July 4th.
Yeah.
And unapologetically supporting the
Yes.
Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah.
That's what this is about.
Yes.
Okay? And so how is it that if you don't have this kind of inordinate control, how do you come behind him and within 48 hours or
Yes.
so you've taken away his show?
Everything he's worked for. You're proving exactly what he said.
You're proving what people are saying to be correct.
Yeah, wait. In the middle of
a
the
black
time
lives-
when black people
Yes.
can say whatever they want to say,
Yes.
you put all that on pause and pick this man up and say, nope, you cannot do this.
Yeah. And see, if you want to rise in their world, you have to pass what is called the Farrakhan litmus test.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The Farrakhan litmus test means, let's just say a man is a great film producer, and he's just bad. Black man, does great work, and the studio heads, and I'm just speaking hypothetically, sit him down. And the question is asked, how do you feel about Minister Louis Farrakhan?
You think to yourself right there and then, how bad do I want you guys' money?
Your answer to this question can determine whether or not another door opens for you.
Yes.
And so what people have to understand is this, man. When you ask somebody like me to denounce Minister Farrakhan, that's like asking this young brother to denounce his mama. Or his dad. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if it were not for that man's example, you probably wouldn't even want to hear what I have to say right now.
Right.
What a lot of these folk don't understand is that a lot of the men that Minister Farrakhan's work has been the catalyst for cleaning up like me.
Yes.
You could very well have ran into us in your goddamn living room with a mask on, and it would have nothing to do with no damn coronavirus. Right. And so, we were taught to hate ourselves. And when you run into a man that preach like Minister Farrakhan, he doesn't preach white hate. He preaches black love.
Yes, and empowerment.
And for those who hate black people, black love sounds like white hate. So a man out here teaching us to love ourselves, and you want me to act like I don't know it?
Yeah. You know one thing that I noticed. I watched the interview with Nick Cannon and the rabbi. Long interview. You know what they never addressed? Where Nick Cannon was wrong. And so when Nick Cannon has all these different feelings and these epiphanies, all of a sudden it makes me think: are they really epiphanies or acquiescence? Because Nick Cannon has yet to say, this is what I've learned that changed my mind. And it almost seems as if if what you're saying now is true, you would want people to know the truth. So at one point in time, do you say, this is what changed my mind? This is the information that was given to me.
Right, because I'm still not clear. And let me say, I didn't watch his interview with the rabbi, so I won't speak specifically to that. Right, but Nick Cannon is a brilliant, valuable brother.
Very.
And I'm pretty sure he means well. But Nick, he did not understand what he gotten himself in the middle of. I still don't think that he understands.
Yeah.
First of all, it doesn't matter how many apologies you make.
Right.
You would think that if the brother issued an apology,
It would be accepted
and he wouldn't have lost his show.
for being contrite.
So you mean to tell me that I apologize,
right.
and I still got spanked?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and the black community really went hard on Nick. And let me say this as a people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can disagree with one another's actions.
Yes.
Without canceling one
Absolutely.
another. You understand what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? I disagreed with Nick's apology. But I think that his apology had less to do with him betraying the black community and more to do with him being ignorant of what it is that he was dealing with and who he was dealing with.
In the first place.
You're dealing with a people who are disagreeable to negotiate with. So again, if he made an error in his research, let's correct the error.
A mistake should be corrected with an apology.
Yeah, to say the last week of my podcast, I said this. I found that this was not actual truth. This is what actually happened.
And that's but that's the part that's missing, Derek. They never got to this is what actually happened.
You know why? Because it was never about that. It was about them punishing him for standing boldly with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah.
And let me say this, you know, this sort of speaks to what it appeared that D.L. Hughley was trying to say in that part of the interview. And let me say this, you know, we haven't seen the interview in its fullness.
Yes.
So you can't pass judgment on how D.L. Hughley has handled the situation until we hear the other part.
We have to give him time to be able to express himself further.
And we have to consider all of the wake-up messages that we've heard D.L. Hughley give to the black community over the many years. You understand what I'm saying? But he talked about religious people who are overly religious, whatever the hell that means.
Yeah.
Whatever
that's why Vlad threw in when Vlad threw in the Yaku, what that was an attempt to make people sound crazy.
Yeah, to make to make the Nation of Islam sound radical. But what people don't understand is, okay, this whole debate about who are the chosen people of God. Okay, that's not something that the Nation of Islam made up. Okay. In the Bible, in Genesis chapter 15, there's a narrative that's placed there of a people who will be kidnapped from their own land. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Taken to a foreign land.
400 years.
They will serve their masters 400 years. Exactly. You've heard it. And after that time, God says, I will come.
Yeah.
And I will make this people. So those people are considered theologically the chosen people. Okay. How often do you see black people running around talking about black people are the chosen people? We trying to get us from we trying to stop us from killing one another.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
That ain't nothing that we preach in the black church.
Right.
But what happened is that is a claim that Jewish theologians made.
Yes.
So when Minister Farrakhan says that black people are the children of Israel, that's him correcting their mistake.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when Walter Cronkite was in Egypt, I think it was Walter Cronkite, for those of you who don't know who that is, as a legendary journalist.
Yes.
He was interviewing the president of Egypt, a man by the name of Anwar Sadat.
Yeah.
They were at the base of the pyramids. And he asked Anwar Sadat, this is the president of Egypt. He said, how does it feel to live in the land where the Jews were enslaved for 400 years? The president of Egypt said, we have no knowledge of that history here.
Yes.
So what Minister Farrakhan is saying that what's written in the Bible, it looks like something that happened back then in Egypt, but it's really something that's happening right now in America, and that black people are fulfilling that particular scripture, with
Right.
the fulfillment of that. It has nothing to do with black people thinking that we're superior to anyone else. That was Minister Farrakhan correcting them.
And did they start coming out or talking about that theology because they migrated with the Ashkenazi Russians who migrated to the region and then start calling themselves Jews?
But see, it goes back to what D.L. Hughley said. Religious people using religion to try to further their own agenda.
Yes.
And now, mind you, the minister has said it openly. Black people are the real children of Israel, meaning that part of the Bible is talking about us.
Yes.
And he has challenged Jewish scholars, theologians to an open debate. Come and sit down with me.
Well, that's what I was looking for in the Nick Cannon interview. I'm like, well, surely if this rabbi is saying Minister Farrakhan is wrong, then surely he should be able to express how. It never happened. And the same rabbi even gloated about being the person behind breaking up Public Enemy because Professor Griff said some of the same things as Nick Cannon.
Really?
Now, this is how it works. Who was Nick Cannon interviewing when he said those same things that got him in trouble?
Griff.
Professor Griff.
Yeah. Again, classic case of divide and conquer.
Classic case.
And another classic case of them trying to punish those who support the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan never picked a fight with these members of the Jewish community. It was they who picked a fight with him.
Yes.
And they don't like the fact that he's finishing the fight, because the more they try to talk about canceling somebody, they try to cancel the Honorable Louis Farrakhan for the past 30 years.
Well, how do you cancel somebody but then allow people to make videos and talk about him, but you don't want him to be able to rebut? You don't want him to be able to give his message. You only want an anti-message to be expressed.
Because he will, Minister Farrakhan will be the first to tell you that it's not about him. It is all about the truth that he represents. This is what they fear. It is all about that truth that's being fed to him by his father, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that they just cannot defeat. And so what I'm saying is this, man. You know, Nat Turner led a rebellion, and there were black people who betrayed him.
Yeah.
Marcus Garvey, he came here from Jamaica. He came looking for the black doctors and black scientists and black lawyers. There were none back then. He said, well, we'll make them. And he built an organization that empowered black people. And J. Edgar Hoover used black FBI agents.
Yeah, to infiltrate.
And betray our brother. Dr. King betrayed by his own people. Harriet Tubman betrayed by her own people. I'm saying that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and this is, I'm speaking to us, is our last chance. Anytime that your enemy can choose your friends,
your leaders,
you will never be free.
You let the other team call your plays.
So this is not a trial for Minister Farrakhan. He's good. Like what did Paul say? I fought the good fight. He's fought and is still fighting the good fight. They're trying to send a message to us.
Yeah.
You follow who we tell you to follow.
And do it the way we tell you.
Who we tell you to.
Right.
Applaud.
Right.
And it's time for that slave master relationship to be
break.
Busted up, broken up.
Yes.
Thrown into a sea of forgetfulness, never to return again.
Yeah. Something that I've noticed. Facebook, YouTube, Google as a whole, Instagram, the biggest platforms in the world are owned by the people who say they don't have no power. Viacom, which owns so much of Viacom owns BET, MTV, and VH1. What gets placed on those stations? Black images, black music. So we have white Jews who are in control of the imagery of black music. Move on to the other side. Now you got Universal Records and all of their subsidiaries. People don't Cash Money, Shady Records, Aftermath. You name one. They're a subsidiary of Universal Records. Again, another company owned by who? The people who say they don't have any power. So when we look at visual, when it comes to black music, when we come to the hearing and the projection of black music, they're running it. But then we'll get mad and shut you down when you point to it and say, who do you guys think is running this stuff?
Right.
It's right there in our face. I want to talk about this, Deric, building on our own. And it ties in perfectly with the Nick Cannon situation. A buddy of mine, we were talking the other day, and it occurred to me. I said, well, maybe Nick Cannon is doing all this, the acquiescing, because he doesn't feel confident in us to buy his products.
Good point.
Because where are his distributors? How would he distribute it? Everything he distribute now come from the same people he's trying to say run the media. MTV again, which is owned by Viacom. He said it on YouTube, which is owned by some other Jewish guys. You see, Google, which is owned by some other Jewish guys. Where would he distribute it? So he would have to come directly to us. And he would have to create an entity to be able to come directly to us. And then he would have to create a form of exchange to be able to get paid for these very costly productions. Are we so reliant upon them to where we can't break free? Because I personally think that has a lot to do with Nick Cannon, and his reason to back up was because he's looking at it. And I don't know this. This is just my assessment. Where am I going to sell this stuff? How am I going to pay to keep creating this stuff? And do I have confidence in my people to buy it?
Very powerful question. You know, when Nick Cannon's show was taken from him by Viacom, something very powerful happened that I think we missed. Our brother Diddy sent a message to Nick Cannon publicly saying, Nick Cannon, bring your talent over to Revolt TV. It is black owned.
Yes.
It is black owned. And what has to happen, Brother Tyrone, is we have to get rid of this crab in the barrel mentality. First of all, come to grips with the fact that we ain't no damn crabs.
We don't belong in no
and
barrel.
This ain't no damn barrel. Okay?
Right.
When powerhouses with the influence of a Nick Cannon link up with the powerhouse of a brother like Diddy Combs.
Yes.
And they link up with a powerful brother like 50 Cent.
Yes.
Who has a powerful business mind. And they link up with Jay-Z. And let's just say the way it is said that they used to do in the mafia. All of these black owned entities and these powerful, influential black brothers, they have a meeting, a private meeting.
Yes.
You know, and they sit around the table like a commission.
Yeah, get around the round table.
And they make the decision that what was done to Nick Cannon, this is the last time they'll do this to us. And so they use all of their platforms collectively to empower Nick Cannon. Next thing you know, the show that they took from Nick Cannon, Nick Cannon has a bigger and better show.
Makes that one worthless.
On Revolt TV,
which
is black owned. And let's say Nick Cannon gets some stock in Revolt TV or whatever, I don't know. And then 50 Cent decides he's going to appear on Nick's show.
Yeah.
And then Jay-Z decides he's going to appear on Nick's show. And then the influential sisters decide that they want to. See, it's this kind of unity that has the power to shut them down.
Well,
Because I'm gonna tell you,
Uh-huh.
these people have so much power that not only do they have the power to empower Nick Cannon, they have the power to punish Viacom.
Yes.
For punishing Nick
Well,
Cannon.
Viacom is so relevant because of our
And
talent.
that is what
we give them the
that's what we
talent,
gotta
Derek.
realize. And so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it like this. He said 90% of our problems can be solved if we would just unify.
Yes.
And so what Nick Cannon needs is his brothers and his sisters who have measures of power in their industry. When they all come together and they decide that the game is over, the game is over.
Well, why don't they, Derek? Why do I keep hearing this? Well, we have to be at the table. And I'd be like, no, you've been sitting at that damn table and you're the only person getting crumbs on you.
That is what we have been conditioned to believe, brother. We have been conditioned to believe that if we go out on our own, our people won't support us. We've been conditioned to believe that the white man's ice is colder.
Yes.
We've been conditioned to believe that a steady check from a white corporation is better than the opportunity to become wealthy independently and on your own. So we have to get rid of that slave mentality. And see, this is why I say that integration was a failed experiment. Let's look at baseball.
Okay.
You look at the National Baseball League, what's it called? The
MLB?
The MLB, right? When you look at the MLB, you see very few black players in the MLB.
Yeah, and it's dwindling.
Yeah, and that's by design. It's not that black boys can't play baseball.
No.
They make it too expensive on the little league level.
Yeah.
And they created a system that keeps us out of baseball.
Yeah.
But there was a time when we owned our own baseball league.
Negro League.
It's called the Negro League.
Yes.
And it was thriving.
Yes.
And black people supported it.
Yes.
Okay. And so if we could do it then,
we could do it now.
when we didn't have modern technology, we didn't have trillions of dollars collectively, what makes you think that we can't do it now?
Right.
Back then, they wouldn't allow us to go to white-owned restaurants, coffee shops, hotels, but integration
Yeah.
poisoned our minds into thinking that the closer that we are to white people, our value increases.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed how you take a neighborhood like Fifth Ward, right? Let's say Third Ward, which Third Ward used to be a white neighborhood.
Yeah.
Then when they told us, hey, it's okay for black folk to move in, that's what Lyndon Baines Johnson told us. Black people start moving in. And as black people start moving
White
in,
flight.
white people start moving
They
out.
gone.
All of a sudden, when black people start moving in and white people gone, they say the property value
Same
has
property.
decreased. Hold on. It's the same property,
Same property.
same structure, same location, same side of town. How is it that the property value has decreased?
Right.
The niggas are present.
Yes.
So the property value has decreased.
Yes.
Okay. So the same white folk that moved out of Third Ward, they moved to Missouri City. Then we chased after them. Let's go to Missouri City. So we can feel valuable again, have some white neighbors. Then they saw you coming. Then they moved out to Richmond.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go to Richmond so we can have some
Yeah.
white neighbors. Right? Then they got tired of running.
Yeah.
All right. So these same white families
Uh-huh.
moved right back into Third Ward.
What happened with the price?
All of a sudden, the property value went back up again.
Skyrocket. Skyrocket.
So you mean to tell me
You're saying they're more valuable?
that the presence of white people is what makes the property more valuable? Don't we see the game?
Yes.
See, so that's a real estate example
Yeah.
of how they've taught us to think.
Yes.
And so a lot of our celebrities are afraid
Very.
that if they disconnect from these white corporate entities, that they'll become failures in their career. But what Nick Cannon doesn't understand is that Viacom probably did him a favor.
Yeah.
Put this out there. They probably did him a favor, bro.
Yeah.
Have you ever
He could grow.
Have you ever met a brother who owns his own business? And he said, man, I was so afraid to step off the plantation.
All the time.
He's on that corporate job for 15 years.
All the time.
He saved his money. He had a nest egg. I mean, he had everything that he needed.
Uh-huh.
And then guess what? They fired him.
Yeah.
So now he was forced to go and do for self. Now he's making 20 times what he was making in corporate America.
Yeah.
And he can speak with bass in his voice. He owns his own. And he can't do nothing but look back at the person that fired him and say, man, thank you. You did me a favor.
Yeah. And not only him, the example that it perpetuates for other people if done right.
Correct.
I say this, and let me ask you this if it's true. Let me know if it's true. Again, this is therapy. I feel like integration, all we really did was we integrated our talents into their pockets. Because a lot of these entities really would not thrive without us. Name me a basketball team with 5 white starters. All right. Name me a football team who wouldn't be the same if they took off all the black players.
That's a good question.
And so they need us. College football, black people weren't allowed to go to these universities, and now we're having a conversation about them coming back to the black universities. But they were taken from the black universities because the white people saw an opportunity to use them. How do we get out of that mind state that always let white society, and again, I don't want to do the blanket thing, but as far as these huge entities come,
the powers that be,
and drain us for our talents, and we never literally get what we're worth. I always say this, Deric. I say, well, because people always say, well, look at Oprah Winfrey, look at Diddy, and I say, yes, they are very white. I mean, very rich, but they made a white person richer on the way.
Wow. That's a very good point. How do we get out of that mentality? We have to educate. Knowledge is power. We have to create an environment that is empowering, self-empowering for our children. We have to support black media like this show right here that gives us a narrative that deals with self-determination. So we have to do all of these things. But unfortunately, even with that, and as much as it hurts my heart to say it, we're going to have to keep getting our butts whooped until we get the message.
So we understand.
Until we get the message, we're going to have to keep feeling the fire.
Yeah.
It's going to get more uncomfortable for us, my brother.
Yeah.
Until we see the signs and take those signs and turn those signs into substance. Brother, we're coming up on a new school year in 2020. We can't even send our children back to school. Schools are closing down.
Right.
That should be a message to us that it's time for us to build our own.
Yeah.
The coronavirus pandemic.
It's a perfect opportunity.
Black people are suffering disproportionately from the coronavirus pandemic. It has less to do with the actual pandemic, and it has more to do with the kind of care that we're being given in their hospitals.
Yes.
Isn't that a sign that we need to build
our own,
my brother?
And even the grocery stores and the food and all this stuff and the unhealthiness, the food deserts that we have right over here,
and the food shortage on the way,
and all that stuff.
That means we got to grow our own food. So the signs are everywhere telling us do for self, do for self. And if we don't, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we are going to suffer the consequences. And so again, we have to get rid of that slave mind.
Yeah.
And the sooner we get rid of the slave mind, the faster we get to that point of free and total independence. And again, this is why they have to continue to attack the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because he is a man that can reprogram the slave mind. And always remember that the job of the mainstream media is to make weak black men look strong.
Yes.
And make strong black men look crazy.
Crazy. I was, Derek, before you said it, that's what came to mind, was literally the word crazy.
Yes.
And that's what we see. And what confuses me is we've seen it over and over and over. Now we're at a point in time where we believe the FBI is a great entity. We believe the CIA would never, ever lie. We believe the media is going to tell us the truth, even though 10 minutes prior, they made you look terrible. And it confuses me, Derek. I don't get it. I'm like, you were just telling me that. Look at how they make us look on the news. And then 10 minutes later, they say something about somebody you don't like. Ooh, that's true.
Yeah.
20 minutes later, they say something about somebody you don't like. Ooh, that's not true. It's like we're up and down when it comes to the media, and we are being tricked. Let me ask you this, Derek, and I've been inundated with this as a question, and it actually ties in to what we're talking about when it comes down to owning your own. There's a video out called WAP, a song.
Right.
The Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, and there's all kind of debate back and forth, whether it's good, whether it's bad. My question is this, and I'm not even so much as looking at the young ladies and dragging them. I'm saying, who y'all think cleared the budget for this?
Right. Right. Somebody had to give the green light.
Who paid the $8 million for this video?
And that's the question. The question is, who gave the green light for this video to be financed, and who gave the red light for the video of the conscious sister, who's rapping about liberation and women's empowerment? Who put the red light on that video?
Who stopped that?
And that is the depth of thought that we have to enter into. Stop looking at what you see.
Stop punching down.
You have to look at the power behind what you see. Because there's an unseen entity behind everything that you see. And I think the WAP video, I didn't watch it for obvious reasons.
I watched it for research purposes. Can I get away with that?
But if you just look at the advertisement, you know, I mean, it's unfortunate, yes. Is it demeaning to women? Yeah. Does it suggest that what is below a woman's waist is more powerful and impactful than what is above her neck?
Yes.
Does it in its own way subtly advocate, some would say, prostitution? You know? You could say yes. And I just think Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B could make a better song. I think that they're talented enough to where they could put something together that's much better and not have to resort to taking off their clothes. I don't think they really have to do that.
No.
But the real question is, who controls the industry that has convinced them that this is what they have to do?
Absolutely. And that's what I mean. We know you've only seen advertising around it. We know the cost of advertising.
Right.
Who paying for that, Derek?
And also because we live in a country who thrives on, filth.
Yeah.
Our appetite for filth
is there.
Well, it's there because, you know, if you grow up in India and you were raised on Indian food, if you come to America, the food's gonna taste funny.
Yeah.
Because you were not raised to have an appetite,
Right.
or a palate for food that tastes this way.
Right.
The reason that they know that a song and a video like WAP would get millions of views and become the talk of the media circuit, they know that because for years the American appetite has been we've been fed filth for years.
Sensationalism and filth.
Right. So they know that this is what they like.
Yeah.
This is what they like.
They wouldn't do it if we didn't buy it. But
the only reason but I'm saying the only reason we buy it is because they have force fed it to us for so many years.
They've normalized it.
100. There you go.
They've normalized it.
And so if you raise a child in the household and you don't normalize WAP, and your children are raised on Lauryn Hill,
then they'd understand it when they see it.
Well, it creates an appetite for something like that.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, and I learned, you know, never judge a thing while it's in its growth and development.
Yeah.
I can condemn the angle that they took and the things that they said in the video, but I wouldn't throw them away because they young. They still have time to grow.
And I don't believe in throwing people away like that, especially black people. That's just not my thing. But Deric, I could throw away these record executives that will again give the green light to that, but a red light to putting that same money behind the Rhapsody.
That industry needs to be thrown away.
It needs to be thrown away.
It cannot be reformed.
Why do we still at this point let them come and take over things that are our talents? I look up and I see white people who, Asian people who, when they go home with their family for their traditional meals and family gatherings, they take off the chains, they take out the gold teeth. They're not talking with Tyrone and Ray Ray and all them. But on the internet, yo, what's up?
Yeah.
And we allow them to Rachel Dolezal our industries, our entertainment industries, and we allow Vlad. Vlad is very popular because of black artists going on his show.
Oh yeah, he has become a force.
Yes,
within the culture, you can't deny it, and you can't deny him whatever credit he is due for building what he's built.
Yes,
but he is not one of us.
So why do we allow him to do certain topics, certain things? We give him so much. Him and there's another guy, I think his name is Adam 21, No Jumper. Some of the biggest bloggers in rap music are two white guys.
Yeah, but you got to think about it, brother. For the same reason that we allow executives at these record labels to rape and rob us, talking about black artists,
right?
And we might have beef with another rapper, you know, who lives in a different neighborhood.
They're probably on the same label,
you know. But at the end of the day, you getting raped by this white executive.
Yeah.
Where's your beef with him? You mean to tell me that when, you know, in Chicago they use this terminology, a rival gang member is called an ops.
The ops, yeah.
You mean to tell me you really think that all your ops are black?
Right. That's deep.
That's the ultimate deception.
That's the ultimate deception.
Right. And so, you know, men like Vlad, you have to remember that DJ Vlad is not just a force within the culture. DJ Vlad has become at least moderately wealthy.
Yes.
Off of it. If he were not making money doing this, he wouldn't be doing this.
Would he be wealthy?
And so at what point does what he at what point is what he does exploitation?
I think it's been exploitation.
You think it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
He admits he himself called himself a culture vulture.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm saying. After the point this comes out of his mouth, when do you say, all right, that's enough? And that's what kind of worries me, is because it's able to be perpetuated. But look, Deric, go ahead.
And then think about it, okay? And I know we got to wrap up. Let's say I'm a black vlogger, and Vlad is a white vlogger, Russian, Jewish, okay? And let's just say, I'm about to start my company. Vlad's about to start his company. He needs space. He needs equipment. He needs money for to pay for, staff and so on and so forth. Who has a better chance of getting a bank loan?
Vlad.
He's still white.
Still white.
He's still white. And being white, he still has an advantage over black people, even within the framework of black culture.
Yeah.
And so I heard Dr. Wesley Muhammad, who is my brother, say something that I will never forget. And he said, black people have to learn the difference between black culture and nigger culture. Excuse my use of the N-word. Not all black culture, not everything that's considered black culture is really black culture.
This is true.
Some of this is nigger culture.
Yeah.
And so we must do away with nigger. Like when we have dinner at the table, bring black culture to the table. leave that other stuff.
Culture at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as we begin to separate the two, if we're operating off of black culture and within the framework of black culture, they can't come in and
we can find the unity.
They can't come in and exploit us.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
We can find the unity.
It makes it more difficult for a cultural vulture to come in and exploit us.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
if we're operating off of black culture, then black culture is supported. It's black people supporting one another.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Deric, I'm going to wrap it up with this question. And it's sort of a philosophical question. If you could get a superpower and there's two things that you could choose from, and the two choices are either power or control, which one you going to choose? I asked K-Tron this. We've been talking about it. Power or control?
That's a very good question. I would have to say, because with power comes control.
I don't know, Deric.
You don't think?
No, you could be very powerful and not have any control. Nick Cannon.
But is he powerful though? You can appear powerful and not have any control. So, but when you put the question in that context, then you prefer control because we're taught in the Nation of Islam that to become a god, you must have two things. You must have force and you must have power.
Okay.
Force and power. And with that force and power, you have the ability to change reality.
Okay.
And so from that perspective, I would say power because that is an attribute of the gods. But from the context in which you're asking the question, I'd say it's better to have control because there are people who look powerful, but they don't have control.
No control.
But as long as you have control, you do have power.
If you have a car with a very big engine and it goes very fast,
the car is powerful.
But if you don't have no steering wheel, you're going to crash.
Very good point. Yes, very good point. I agree 100%.
Deric, it was an honor. I am glad I got to sit back and talk to you. Therapy session done. Look, I'll stop and I'll register with the secretary in front.
Yes, sir.
And make my next appointment.
Yes, sir. On the way out, right?
On the way out.
Yeah. Yes. Man, let me say, brother, thank you so much for the invitation.
Absolutely.
We've been planning this for a minute and we finally got it done. I want to say that I've been following the development of your work and the growth of your platform. And I want to say I'm very proud of what it is that I'm seeing, and anything that we can do to practice what we preach. You understand what I'm
Yes.
saying about helping one another?
Yes.
See, we discussed it on the level with Mr. Cannon and Puffy Combs
Yes.
and so on and so forth. But if we can't do it here
Yeah.
on the ground,
We're just talking.
we're just talking.
Yes.
And if we can't unite on the ground,
Right.
then we can't expect them to unite in, at
Right.
the level that they are within
Right.
their sphere of influence.
And we're relying on them to do it. We don't have to rely on them. We could start right here.
And that's exactly what we're doing.
Right.
So I just want to say that the support that I'm saying that they need to give one another, I offer that support to you, and I know I have it from you,
Absolutely.
and vice versa.
Absolutely.
So count me in, my brother.
All right. Thank
It's
you.
been a blessing.
Been a blessing, brother Deric Muhammad. Thank you, guys.